Get started. I am going to record this meeting just so that you guys know. First of all, thank you guys all for coming. We really appreciate you being here and taking time out of your busy schedules to be a part of this virtual event for the Chamber. Those of you who joined us last week, we had our first one, so this is our second one. So I wouldn't call us a pro, but we're all figuring out these virtual meetings and getting used to them together. So I just really thank you for your patience as we figure it out. We would appreciate if you guys can stay on mute during the call. We'll be utilizing the chat button. I'll be monitoring that for Brian and being sure to, if you guys have questions about what he just said, I'll be watching that and then I can ask him during the present time so that we can get those questions for you guys answered. Also, just a heads up, if your camera's on, just be careful of what you're doing and where you are. We won't want any mishaps there. We have found that people that are using AirPods to dial in may not get the best quality of audio. So if you're getting a little bit of choppiness there, I would recommend taking those earbuds out and you can dial in just using your phone as well. And with that, I just wanted to give another shout out to our sponsors. Even though we're doing these virtually, it obviously takes a team behind the Chamber to help these things happen. So we're really thankful for H. Kruger and Associates for sponsoring today's event, as well as Total Wine. So with that, I would like to welcome Brian Lee. Brian is the president of Revelation PR, Advertising, and Social Media. He's also the president of Revelation Events, and he's a part-time lecturer on social media at Madison Area Technical College, a digital marketing specialist for the state of Wisconsin's business intelligence team, and the author of Using Social Media for Business. So it gives me great pleasure to turn the program over to Brian for us to learn more about Facebook advertising. Brian?
Thank you very much. So I'm excited to do this. It's funny. I need a video chat punch card. On Tuesday, I did Skype, WebEx, Zoom, and WhatsApp video. And yesterday I did a TV interview on Zoom. So that was really weird. I felt I was very shiny and my face is very big, as you guys can see. So I'm trying to zoom out a little bit and sit up as straight as I can. So thanks for Kristen for the introduction. I don't have to go through this slide, which was going to be about 2/3 of my presentation anyway. But yeah, it's a lot of work to keep up on all these things. Right now, I'm currently updating my social media book. Now it's 4th edition, and it's just amazing how much things change throughout the years. So this is what I want to talk about today. It's going to be a combination of both beginner stuff, and then I want to take you guys to more advanced level stuff on Facebook advertising. But before we get into that, I want to talk about the why, not just the how, but the why. So I have 2 slides on that. This is what's called the consumer adoption process. I'm sure some of you in this virtual chat room are familiar with this to some extent, but it starts with the awareness. That's the top of the funnel, right? No one can buy from you until they know you exist. So this is why brands spend so much time on marketing and advertising PR, just to get their name out there. The next step is typically interest. Someone has to have interest in what you sell if they're going to buy from you, right? I don't own any pets. I do know pet stores exist, buying any kind of pet food or cages or anything like that. So I would never be their customer. And the next step after that is evaluation. So as you saw from previous slide, we do a lot of hospitality marketing PR. And I know the bane of every restaurant, hotel, are all those Yelp reviews, Google reviews, Facebook reviews, right? And unfortunately, we need those reviews because the prospective customers in the evaluation stage, they are looking at your reviews, testimonials, case studies, media coverage, pricing. They're trying to get referrals. They need all that to make a better decision about whether or not they want to buy from you. So that's that evaluation stage. Moving on is typically trial. This is not a required step. It's typically optional, but you think about going to a car dealership. You do a test drive right before you buy a car, or before you join a health club, you get a 1-week free trial membership, right? So that's trial, and then that finally gets to adoption. So again, this is how a stranger becomes your customer. And that first step, awareness, is where we are going to go today within Facebook. So Facebook falls into this realm of push or outbound marketing. We are trying to get our message in front of people who aren't really in the mindset of buying your product or service at this moment, or they have no idea you exist. That contrasts from pull or inbound marketing, where people are actually searching for your product or service, and you are trying to get in front of them at that moment. That might be through SEO or Google Ads. But in this case, we are using Facebook to, again, push your message directly in front of your target audiences. Hope that makes sense on the why we are using Facebook advertising. Now, I want to talk about Business Manager. I know that a lot of people who start with Facebook advertising are doing it through their page, and that totally works. But I want to open your eyes to Business Manager if you're not already using it, because there's so many great features to it. First of all, as you know, you have to have a personal account before you can manage a page or even advertise on Facebook. Well, using Business Manager helps allow you to separate your personal from the business side of things. The second bullet point here is really important for an agency like mine. We work with a lot of clients, and they are able to add us as an external partner to their Facebook accounts. And then when that relationship ends, they can just disable our access. So that way there's no password sharing or anything like that. We're just listed as an external partner. And I'll give you more examples of that in a bit. Also, you are able to build and save custom audiences that you are using as part of your advertising campaigns. And I will give you an example of that coming up as well. If you have multiple pages, this is nice, because now you can see all your pages that you manage in one dashboard versus having to log into each one. So that's very handy as well. And then finally, metrics are very important in all marketing and advertising, but also within digital marketing as well. So Business Manager allows you to get more stats behind your advertising campaigns. And I will show you that as well. So to get started, you're going to look at this link here, business.facebook.com. And when you go to that, you come to this screen. So it's pretty straightforward to set up. On the bottom left here is page. So you have to start with a page, and that becomes basically the main account under Business Manager. But again, you can add multiple pages. So for us, my company Revelation, that's the Business Manager account, yet we manage 20 plus pages underneath this Business Manager account. Then the ad account. You're going to have this, because the whole point of this presentation is about Facebook advertising, right? So what the ad account is that's how you handle your billing. You're going to put your billing information, your credit card information, and so forth. And then you can either add people to your ad account. So for example, some of our clients have their own ad accounts, and they add us to it. So we are able to advertise, and they pay for the ads themselves. Or we have our own ad account, and sometimes we add our clients to our ad account. In that case, we are paying for their Facebook ads, and then at the end of the month, we take that Facebook ad invoice and add it to our invoice. So that's what the ad account does. And then people, as I mentioned, you can add staff, consultants, agencies, freelancers, whatever, through the people section. Now, to access Business Manager, after you've set all this up, when you log into Facebook normally, you're going to click that arrow in the upper right, and then you're going to scroll down, and you're going to select your Business Manager account. And then when you do, you're going to come upon this dashboard here, and separated by multiple columns that you can access different facets of advertising on Facebook. So if you were to scroll down a little bit, if I were going to the Ads Manager and I scroll down a little bit, I would see this. Now, there's a big blank white space here at the bottom of the screen. I've erased all the campaigns we're currently running for our clients, so you can't see them. But you can see that everything's separated by tabs. So I want to explain to you what these tabs mean so you can make more sophisticated ad campaigns. Typically, when you create an ad, you start from the right side of the screen. You're starting from the ad, and then you work backward. Here, you are actually working the correct direction, which is that you set up a campaign first. So I'm just making stuff up now. You might have a, summer 3-month campaign that you're trying to do something, or, assuming that we reopen things, a back to school campaign, whatever, right? And underneath that campaign, you're going to have ad sets. These ad sets categorize your ads by budget, target audience, or schedule. So for example, in this particular campaign, you see that I have two ad sets. Let's say the ad set on the left was targeting recent college graduates, and the ad set on the right was targeting recent retirees. Okay, so that's how those ad sets are separated. You see, those are two different target audiences. Another way is that, like I said, it could be by schedule. So the ad set on the left, let's say I'm targeting recent college graduates in the month of June, and the ad set on the right, I'm targeting recent college graduates in the month of July. So in that case, same audience, just different time frames. And then underneath each ad set, you can have one or more ads. And the reason why you would have one or more ads, more than one ad, is that you would do A/B testing, which I'll explain in a bit. So this is basically the campaign structure, and it's how other advertising platforms are structured as well. If you were to run Google ads, you would see this, except instead of ad sets, they call them ad groups, and those are separated by keywords. So I just want to make sure that you guys understand this structure of how to create the ads. Now, even knowing this, you don't necessarily still have to create campaign first, then the ad sets second, then the ads third. You still can actually create the ads first and then backfill in everything. And just for the simplicity of this presentation, that's what I'm going to show you next. So we're going to click on that ads tab. Oh, I'm sorry, I jumped ahead. The other features of Business Manager that I want to briefly talk about before we talk about creating ads, okay? First is the pixel. The pixel is a section of code that you install on your website. And then what that happens is Facebook and your website are connected and can talk to each other. So Facebook is then able to read everything going on in your website. For example, they can determine after someone's clicked on your Facebook ad that they went to your website, went to the product page, added an item to your shopping cart, to their shopping cart, and then purchased it. Facebook will now be able to track all that once you install the pixel. The ad account spending limit is a nice stopgap measure. So in the billing managers section of Business Manager, you can say, you know what, once I've spent about $500 total in all my ads that I'm running, I want to take a quick pause so I can take a look at it. So Facebook will then pause all your ads. You can take a look and say, yeah, I want to keep going. Then you reset your limit. So it's just that you don't spend wildly, without, again, some kind of stopgap measure.
Hey, Brian, we got a couple of questions on pixels there. Does the pixel have to be added to all website pages or just the ones you want to track?
Excellent question. So yes, you only have to install it within what's typically the header of your website. So let's say your website is built on WordPress, which is likely since more than half the world's websites are on WordPress. WordPress actually has a Facebook Pixel plugin, it's called. So you install that plugin and then you put in your Pixel ID code, and then your site is connected to Facebook, and then you don't have to edit the actual hard code of your website. So again, you just need to enter the Pixel code once on your website. It's typically the header, because that's a universal page to all the pages on your website. Thanks for bringing that up. And Kristen, it's funny, I don't see that question anywhere. My chat must not be working.
But it was a private one just to me.
Oh, okay.
So you're good.
Import, export, the third item on this list. So if you are running very complex campaigns where you have a lot of data, you're running multiple ad sets, etc., you can export all the data from your ads into, let's say, an Excel spreadsheet. Then you can manipulate all the items of your ads. For example, you can change the dates, all within Excel, then import that back in to Facebook. I know that sounds weird, but if you are running big campaigns, it's a pain in the butt to have to log back into Facebook and change all your ads when you can just export it, do a Control-Alt, Switch-All, whatever on Excel, and then import it back in. So that, again, if you're running big, complex campaigns, that's a handy feature to have. And then, as I alluded to earlier, the custom reporting. So hopefully you can see here on the bottom left, on the left-hand side, you can pick the elements you want on your reports. So you can look at reach, cost per click, impressions, all that kind of stuff, and then make a report on that. And then it's important to look at your ads. And I'll end this presentation by talking about some of the metrics. So, as I mentioned, we're going to start by creating ads. So that's on this right tab here. And then you're going to click on this big green button that says create. Now, all social media platforms, when you start advertising, are going to have the same intro screen, which is they want you to choose your objective. So, for example, if you want to do LinkedIn ads, you would see the same setup where they ask you what your objective is. So Facebook presents you 3 columns worth of objectives. I've narrowed it down to these 5 major objectives. These are the ones you will most likely ever use, okay? The first one, brand awareness and reach, those are 2 different objectives, but they do basically the same thing. It's to help you target people. And I say new in parentheses, you might be targeting existing audiences, your existing fans, or you might be trying to reach out to new customers. Engagement, if you choose that objective, what you're likely looking to do is build your network, which means you're trying to get more fans on your Facebook page, or you have an event on Facebook and you're trying to promote it. So that would be engagement. And the third set, traffic and conversions, again, those are 2 different objectives, but they do basically the same thing, which is they are driving people to your website and moving them down your sales funnel. Your hope is that they go to your website and then take actions there. So again, are you just trying to build awareness? Are you trying to get people to attend your event? Or are you trying to move people down your sales funnel? So those are the objectives. Now, once you pick those objectives, you're going to see something that's relatively new in Facebook. It's called campaign budget optimization. If you turn this on, what it will do is Facebook will spread out your money amongst all your ads, and it'll try to figure out which ad sets are doing better, and then allocate money to those ad sets and pull money back from the lesser performing ad sets. But if you're not running multiple ads, then you should just turn this off. But if you turn this on, you have to select your budget right now. If you don't turn this on, you will select your budget later. And I will show you what that looks like. So again, campaign budget optimization, really if you're running a lot of different ads and you don't want to have to manually track them, Facebook will do that for you in terms of allocating your dollars to those ads. So we're choosing objective. Now, these next few slides are all about choosing your target audience. And again, this is similar to other social media platforms. So once you learn this, it'll help you learn to do advertising in other platforms. So let's say you are a wedding planner based here in Madison. So we're thinking about trying to reach your customers, right? In this particular case, we start with the geography. So I'm picking, in this example, a 25-mile radius of Madison. That might seem a little high. You might say, I only want to do 10 miles outside of Madison. That's fine. You can choose that, okay? But again, this is an example for a wedding planner. And then if you scroll down, just look down a little bit, in this case, within a 25-mile radius of Madison, I'm targeting women ages 22 to 35. And then if you go a little lower here, that are engaged. Now, does that make sense? If I'm a wedding planner, that's my ideal target market, engaged women 22 to 35 living in about a 20-mile radius of Madison? Yes. Of course, as a wedding planner, you could work with someone in Chicago or Denver or whatever, but it's unlikely because they're in a different geography. You have a whole nother set of competitors, right? You know this market. So on the right-hand side, you'll see the size of the audience. You'll see that the audience is well-defined based on my parameters. And then the other thing about the demographics here at the bottom of the screen is that over the last few years, Facebook has reduced what you can, the demographics you can select. For example, you can no longer select race. They felt like some of the ads were too racist, targeting certain races, so they eliminated that. So just to let you know, if you select a demographic feature today or an interest today, it may not be available 6 months from now. The other thing is that, just as a quick aside, is that it's scary how much Facebook knows about us. You might not even change your relationship status to engaged on Facebook, but it just knows you're engaged. When income level, how does Facebook make that assessment, right? So it just looks at everything you do, all your friends, all your connections, and so forth, and it makes these assumptions. So pretty scary what's out there. All right, let me just take a quick look here. If I have a Facebook page for my business, can we use that in Business Manager? Correct. Yep. Under Business Manager, Jenny, is that you are going to put your Facebook page into that Business Manager, and then your Business Manager will run that Facebook page. And you yourself would still, of course, have admin access to it. Okay, so on this
Brian,
page,
I've got one here too for you. So does this reach all Facebook users or only those connected to your page?
In this particular screen, we are targeting anyone that is living in a 25-mile radius of Madison, that is 22 to 35, that is a woman, that is engaged. So not people connected to our page, just anyone who falls under these parameters. And then if we scroll down on this screen, the next thing we're going to look at is placements. So I'm sorry, let me just, one more thing on this is why it's important to know your target audience. Why in the world of marketing, and I remember Chris and I having a conversation about this, 10 years ago, is that you can't say the general public is your market. It's way too broad, right? You got to be able to narrow it down, and using these types of ads forces you to think, who is my buyer? The other thing I want to mention to you, because I was showing another client about this, is that sometimes you're not targeting the end user, you're targeting the decision maker. So for example, we were working with a company that makes mobility beds for people who have Parkinson's or are disabled and cannot get out of bed without help. So these people are generally 70 or older, but the buyer, they're the end user, but the buyer is their children. So we were targeting their children in the 40s and 50s to buy these mobility beds for their parents, okay? So think about that too. Now we're scrolling down a little bit. This is where you're going to decide where your ads are shown within Facebook's large ecosystem, okay? So if you choose automatic placements, Facebook will figure it out for you. If you choose edit, you can select. As you can see here at the bottom of the screen, you can select Messenger, Facebook Marketplace, the right column. So if you don't want your ads shown in these areas, just uncheck those boxes. Now we're scrolling down a little bit. Here's the budget. So if we did not choose campaign budget optimization, like I mentioned a couple screens ago, here's where you get to select your budget. And you know what? $5 a day will actually get you pretty far. You'll see based on your budget how many people you can reach on the right-hand side here. And as you can see, 500, about 1,200. I always follow the lower number, okay? So about 500 people a day, that's pretty good. If you think about traditional marketing, $5 gets you nothing, right? But $5 on social media, I can reach 500 people with my message. And then you can choose your schedule. You can have your ads run all the time, or you might have your ads run only during business hours or whatever. If you're like trying to sell, lunch, and you might only want to advertise turn your ads on for like say 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., right? If you're selling lunch. And then the next portion is identity. You actually now have to have a Facebook page before you can advertise. This is because of the past presidential election with foreign interference. Now Facebook wants to make sure that there's an actual entity behind this. So this is where you are going to select a page that will be connected to these Facebook ads. And because Facebook owns Instagram, you can choose your Instagram account if you want to advertise on Instagram as well. In fact, if you want to advertise on Instagram, you have to do it through Facebook, and it's done right here. Now, the next portion is you're going to actually create your ads. And this screenshot here is new. Facebook just changed this format again. So right here, you're going to select single image or video. It used to give you multiple choices like carousel, video, right? Once you select this format, at the bottom here, under where it says media, you can add one or more photos, you can add your videos, etc. And that's how you select the look of your ad. Now, just while we're on the screen here, in this middle section says instant experience. That's a more advanced ad that has a lot of photos and videos in one big kind of like website look. It's beyond the point of this presentation today, but I just wanted to let you know that's what that is. It's a more advanced looking ad, but it does require your website and your videos and so forth to have fast loading speed. Okay, so I'm getting to some of the technical stuff here. Now, after you select the look, so the photos and or video of your ads, here is where you're going to type in the text. So you can see the main text, the headline text, description, so forth. You're going to add the website, destination, if it's one of those types of ads. And then on the right-hand side here, you will get a live preview of your ad. In the middle column here, you will see that you can see what your ad would look like on Instagram or Facebook Messenger or Facebook Marketplace. So you get a live preview of all those versions of your ad. And then the bottom left here, the call to action. So Facebook studies have shown that people are more likely to click on your ad when there's a button. So you should have a button. And in fact, even though your entire ad is clickable, people are going to just click on that button. So there's various buttons like learn more, donate, contact, etc. So add a button to your ad, and that's just done by choosing the button here at the bottom left. And that is the ad setup right there. You're going to hit submit, and then Facebook is going to review your ad. It's going to look at various things. I'll show you one in a second. And it usually takes less than 24 hours. I've never had to wait beyond that for ads. And we've run so many different types. We've run political ads that usually take a little bit longer to review, but still has been less than a day. So please remember to make sure you're thinking ahead of time. If you want to start an ad campaign today, you should have started creating the ads yesterday. Okay. Now, just some quick pointers here is that Facebook doesn't allow your ad to have more than 20% text. So in this particular case, this Sean Murphy's Eat Here, as you can see, that text takes up about 45% of the image. So that's a no-no. Facebook would not allow this. The reason is that, as you can see here, you don't get much space for text. So what people used to do was game the system. They would just make an image of all text as part of their ad. And Facebook got mad that people were doing that. So now they don't allow you to have more than 20% text in your ad. Okay? Another thing, just want to show you this ad too. So this ad is pretty good. If you recall from an earlier slide, I talked about the consumer adoption process, how a person goes from being your stranger to being customer, right? That you have to generate awareness, and this is advertising meal delivery service called HelloFresh. So if I didn't know HelloFresh, like, oh, okay, now I know what HelloFresh is. That's awareness. Do I want meal delivery service? Well, especially in these times, yes. So I am interested. Evaluation. Well, what is it saying here is that millennials are ditching takeout to use this service. Oh my God, well, if millennials are ditching takeout, this must be a good service, right? So that's how I'm evaluating. The trial is right here, giving 8 meals free for new customers. Okay, so I have the first 4 steps: awareness, interest, evaluation, and trial, before, of course, adoption. What's wrong with this ad? Why I don't give it a full A+ or A on this is this image here. Do you see this ad? When I took a screen capture of this, there's 4,500 comments on it. About 4,499 of those comments were about this gross hand here. How it's all greasy and stuff, that disgusting looking thumb touching that chicken. Like, I'm not going to order this chicken if that gross, greasy hand is touching this, okay? So that's why it's important that image matters. Like I said, I love this ad for all the other reasons. They just picked the wrong image. So make sure, again, no more than 20% text in the image, and then make sure you don't have a greasy thumb, okay? Now, A/B testing. I mentioned before that within your ad sets, you might have more than one ad. So A/B testing, also known as split testing, what that does is compare multiple versions of your ad against each other. What you do is just change one element in each ad. You might change the headline, you might change the body text, you might change the image. In this case, these are 2 identical ads other than the image. And if I asked you guys, which ad do you think did better? It's an arbitrary guess, right? I could have a third and fourth one, and who would get it right? This is why you have to do A/B testing, because it's hard to predict ahead of time. So in this particular case, the ad on the left did twice as well than the ad on the right. Again, it just seems like an arbitrary guess. There's no additional cost for running multiple ads. Again, Facebook will do the budget optimization for you and run these ads randomly to the same target audience. So over a course of, let's say, a few days, a week or so, you're going to start collecting data, and then you're going to stop running these ads that aren't working well. So in this case, it would be the ad on the right. So if you're doing Google ads or even your e-newsletter, you can actually A/B test those as well. It's important in the digital marketing world to be able to do that. In the traditional advertising and marketing world, do you know how we used to A/B test? We would put one ad in, let's say, the State Journal, and then another ad in the Cap Times when it was a printed daily. And each ad would have a different 1-800 phone number in them. And then we'd see which ad had more calls coming in. That just sounds crazy, but that's how we had to A/B test back in the day. Now it's so easy. You just tweak one little thing of each ad. So I'm just telling you you have options to be more sophisticated and get better results within your ad campaigns. Instead of running one ad, run multiple ads. Now, that's the ad setup. I presume some of you in this virtual webinar here have boosted posts. And I want to talk about that as well, because that's the absolute easiest way to advertise. But first, I need to explain to you why you would even think about boosting posts. And that all goes with Facebook's newsfeed algorithm. So I presume many of you guys in this webinar are on Facebook personally. Have you ever noticed that when you log into Facebook on your phone or computer, that some of your friends' posts appear more frequently than others in your newsfeed? The answer is yes. I should be seeing more head nodding in this chat here, okay? Yes, you do see more of certain friends than other friends in your newsfeed, and it's not because it's not because they're posting more frequently. It's because Facebook thinks you're better friends with that person based on past interaction. So every time you like, comment, do anything with a post of a friend, Facebook logs that time, logs that interaction, and saves it. So the more you interact with someone, Facebook keeps thinking, well, you must be better friends with them. So this can come back to bite you if you have frenemies on Facebook. If you have a frenemy and they post photos and you look at those photos and start judging them, like, I can't believe she wore that dress or went out with that guy again. Well, that time you're spending judging their photos, Facebook is clocking that time and will give you more of their stuff later down the road. So, and think about this. How frequently do you ever visit a friend's, personal profile page? Probably never. How often do you ever visit a business page that you follow? Probably never, right? If you don't see the post in your newsfeed, you never see it. So that presents us a challenge as marketers, is how do we get our posts seen in the newsfeed of our followers? So this is the part of the algorithm that Facebook uses. It is hidden within Facebook's privacy and help sections, but it is out there. So the first section I want to talk about is the left column, content quality. Quote unquote, Facebook says you have to have meaningful interactions with your posts. So the more meaningful interactions you have, likes, comments, and shares, the higher it will rank your post. Now, unfortunately, this is the chicken and egg problem, right? If no one can see my post in the first place, how can I get likes, comments, and shares on it? And Facebook knows this and does this on purpose. Second, compelling, quote unquote, compelling video, Facebook says. What that means is part one, length of time watched. So you think, well, why don't I just post a 30-minute video? The second point nullifies that. Percent complete matters. So if you post a 30-minute video and someone only watches 2 minutes, you're going to get punished because they don't think it's a compelling video. But if you post a 3-minute video and people watch 2 minutes of it, then it is a compelling video, and Facebook would boost that up. Second column, timeliness. If you're posting about a trending topic, Facebook will say, okay, this is important. Let's show it. The other thing is load time of your website. So if you post a link from your website, to your blog article or whatever, Facebook goes ahead and clocks how long it takes to load that particular page of your website. If it's too slow, Facebook will punish you. Next, authenticity. So especially because of what we've experienced over the last 5 years, no more clickbait. And if you're not familiar with clickbait, it's those misleading articles like, these 10 prominent Middleton people were arrested. You won't believe number 7, right? It's those types of headlines that get you to click. You can't do that anymore. Facebook also says no misleading health info. Well, that's obviously important in today's world, right? The other thing, this is the big one that I see violated all the time, and people just don't know that they're violating it. You may not ask for likes, comments, tags, or shares on your posts. And people do this all the time, like tag a friend, share this post, like it, right? Facebook reads the words of every post. And if it sees you're doing that, it will push your post down. I know people are asking for likes, comments, tags, or shares because they want to get their post seen, but in fact, they're actually hurting themselves over time. So this grid just shows you how complex it is to get your post seen organically without having to pay. Facebook knows it's this difficult, and this is why they make several $1 billion each quarter, because you have to pay to get your own post seen. So this is why we are boosting posts. So I just spent like 30 minutes explaining this, but I just wanted you guys to get the background on this. So boosting posts, again, is about the easiest way to advertise. You take a post from your Facebook page, or you can take a job posting, you can take an event, or you can take a video. You may not do a shared post from another page or an expired post that, for example, had an offer that expired March 31st. You're going to take that post, and you see here in the bottom right corner, you're going to click Boost Post. I fortunately had a post that had something Middleton related, and that's Bachfest here. Once you click Boost Post, you're going to see this screen. So first, you're going to add a button. Remember, I said how important buttons are. Then you're going to add a link for that button. And then you can choose your audience. And as you can see here, the second bullet point says people who like your page. That means you are targeting your own fans. In other words, Facebook is slapping you in the face saying, ha, 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 we know you can't reach your own fans. Now you have to pay to target your own fans. So that's that second one right there. And then what you're not seeing is if you scroll down a little bit more, it just talks about the schedule and budget. But as you can see, this is far less complex than the other way of creating ads, which takes you through multiple sections, right? But as a result, this type of advertising is just not as good in some cases because you might not be reaching the right audience, right? In certain ways, it's so much more simplified. So sometimes simple is good, but sometimes you need a more robust campaign, and that's why I wanted to show you both ways. Okay, so again, you can either go from the business manager and start creating ads, or you can just boost your existing posts. Now, why I don't typically like the boosting post approach is that your boosting posts are talking in one type of message to one audience versus the language you're using in your ads perhaps are targeting someone else. So what I mean by that is that your fans are probably familiar with your product, brand, or services. So you're talking in one way to someone that's already familiar with that. Meanwhile, your ads are targeting someone that's not familiar with your brand, product, or service. So you have different language in that. I hope that makes sense. So now I wanted to get to lookalike audiences. So I want to get to something a little bit more advanced, but hopefully will be helpful to you. So lookalike audiences will help you target people like your existing customers or fans. The theory is that if you target people like those people, well, they're more likely to buy, of course, right? And Facebook thinks it's also more accurate than just trying to replicate these people from the demographics and interests and so forth that I showed you in the ad setup. So what you're going to do is you're going to go back to your business manager. Under the column of assets, you're going to choose audiences. And then when you create audience, you're going to choose lookalike audience. And here's the setup. So again, before I get into this, I want to just remind you that we are trying to target people like our existing customers. We want more of these people. If you have 100 members of your health club and you want 200, the best way to do that is through lookalike audiences. So first you have to provide the source. What type of audience do we need to mimic? In this case, you could choose, for example, existing fans of your Facebook page, or you might have an email marketing list. So you can upload an Excel file of emails, and Facebook will find people like the people you uploaded through your email list. So for example, the Middleton Chamber I know has a large list. If they wanted to find more people, they could upload that list to Facebook and find other people like that subscribe to their email marketing. Next, audience. Now this is a little weird. You're going to only be able to pick countries, so you're going to pick the United States in this case. Now you are able to further hone down that ad when you create the ad and add geo-targeting layers. So even though you're picking the United States, you can eventually hone down to Wisconsin or Madison or Dane County. And then the final portion here is audience size. So if you choose a bigger number like 8, 9, 10%, yes, you're going to have a larger audience set to advertise to, but they're not going to be as alike to your existing audience that you want to mimic. Versus if you chose 1, 2, or 3%, yes, you're going to get a smaller audience set, but these people are going to be even more like your audience set that you want to mimic, if that makes sense. So what I recommend for you guys to do is try not to keep it do beyond 3%. So I like to do 1, 2, 3%. Unless the audience is so tiny, like it's 30 people, it's not worth it, then yes, then it makes sense to increase to 8, 9, or 10%. Now I want to show you what you can do with this lookalike audience. Remarketing. Have you ever shopped on like Amazon.com, looked at a product, didn't buy it, and then that product followed you from site to site to site very creepily, right? That's remarketing. And you can do that yourself. And you can do it here through Facebook. You can run your own remarketing campaigns. So how to do this? First, you have to install the pixel. So you create a pixel on Facebook, install on your website. We talked about that earlier in this presentation. Then when it says select your lookalike source here in the top, you're going to choose website traffic. Do you see that's the upper left? You're going to choose website traffic. So the source of the lookalike audiences is all the people going to your website. Because remember, the pixel allows your website and Facebook to talk to each other. Then within website traffic, you can further hone it down to one of 3 things: all visitors, so anyone who's ever visited your website; specific pages, that means someone has visited like 1 or 2, 3, 4 pages that you pick; or time spent, so someone that's been on your website for more than 2 minutes, let's target them. So how you could do this is if they visit a specific page, a product page, or let's say you sell furniture and someone looked at a couch on your website but didn't put in their cart, you can choose that person. And then Facebook will show your ad to these people every time they're on Facebook, or not every time, but when they're on Facebook, they will see that ad at some point. Like, hey, you didn't buy this couch, buy it, right? So that's how you run these remarketing campaigns. Again, you're targeting people that in this case have come to your website, looked at your services, your offerings, your products, the books, whatever you sell on your website, but they didn't take the next step in terms of calling you for a proposal or hiring you or setting up a meeting, whatever. And you want to keep nurturing that relationship. That's why you do remarketing, because oftentimes people can't make that decision right away. But if you keep targeting them, you can oftentimes increase your sales, your conversions. And again, since these people have visited your website, they have some familiarity with your brand, product, service. So you make sure that message is changed. Like, hey, this couch is still available. It's made by the Amish or whatever, right? You can give them more information they need to make that decision in terms of purchasing. So here's the last section right here, and it's the ad benchmarks. So I took this from a company called WordStream. Other people have listed averages and so forth. This is based on their own research and data. I want to tell you about how to use this. So on the left-hand side, you'll see CTR, which is click-through rate, number of clicks divided by total number of people who saw your ad. You can see these percentages are quite low. So look at fitness at 1%. That means 1 out of 100 people actually clicked the ad, and that's considered good. On the right-hand side, we have cost per click. So again, how much you're spending divided by how many clicks you got divided by the amount of your budget. As you can see, finance, insurance, you're paying about $3 a click, which is quite high. Now, how to use this data? On the cost per click side, let's say you're a fitness club and Facebook is showing that your cost per click is $4 and the industry average is $1.90. What that means is that your ad is not compelling enough for people to click on it. So they see it, but they don't want to click on it. That's what that means if your cost per click is higher than this average. On the other hand, if you're getting, let's say, 50 cents cost per click for fitness, that means your ads are doing really well. People are excited or eager or enticed to click your ad. And that's why your cost per click is so much lower than the average. So that's one way to use these benchmarks. But what we typically advise our clients to do is gather your own data. Sure, you might be a health club, but sometimes the best data is your own data. As you keep running these campaigns, you're going to establish your own averages. And then you can compare what your future ad campaigns are doing compared to your established averages and your own benchmarks. That makes sense. But as you're getting started right now, take these numbers you see here as your early benchmarks, but again, you can further hone those down. But the other thing that's telling about this is don't be so disappointed when you don't become a millionaire after your first campaign. Again, these percentages are quite low, right? You're spending a lot of money. So keep that in mind so that you have realistic expectations when you're running your ad campaigns. So I appreciate everyone coming in today. Hey, I want to be the first to admit I was disappointed. I was looking forward to presenting in a liquor store today, and instead I'm in my own home and had to get dressed. So if you have any questions, you feel free to email me anytime. This is my email address. There's no charge for any kind of questions you have for this presentation. I'm happy to answer anything. I know it was not. I can't read the room. I can't walk up to people and answer questions, but let me know. And I can stick around for a while now. We have some time left, so if anyone, I can stick around on the chat.
Yeah, one thing I'm going to drop into the chat, you guys, is I do have a survey. If you guys could fill that out for today to let us know what your thoughts are. But we just appreciate Brian being here. Any questions, you guys? You feel free to take yourself off mute too, if that's easier.
I see a sport coat, Brian, but do you got jammies underneath?
I actually have jeans on.
Okay.
I actually also am wearing a watch for like the first time in a long time. I'm like, well, if I'm going to put a sports coat on, I'm putting a watch on.
The biggest question that I get from my clients is they just don't know how much money to spend. And, when you say $5 a day, you multiply that, they're always thinking for a month and they're thinking, okay, that's $150. And they're doing that cost comparison. I mean, I know the answer is going to be, it depends, but do you feel like there's a good entry level price that people should be spending, or how? And the second question is, how long should they let a campaign go before they end it so they can track results?
Okay, so Tara's question was about budget, and I'm going to answer that in the hierarchical way first. So I'm really glad you brought this up, Tara. So first, in the world of marketing, if you had to put a number behind your marketing and advertising budget, is that the rule of thumb, and I use that with an asterisk, is you spend 5 to 15% of your targeted gross revenue. Yes, it depends on your industry and so forth and margins, and et cetera. But if you just had to start from scratch and needed a number, 5 to 15% of your targeted gross revenue is how much you should spend each year on marketing. And that seems absurd, but you think about Pepsi. Pepsi spends $500 million a year on advertising, and you know what Pepsi is, right? Now, within that number, 5 to 15%, you take about 30 to 50% of that number is how much you should allocate to digital. So the other 70 to 50% of your budget would be complemented by other efforts such as PR, trade shows, traditional advertising, printed newsletters, all that kind of stuff. So you're supplementing those digital efforts with traditional campaigns. Okay, so that's your overall budget. And why I say this is that most businesses underspend on advertising. So if there's any media sales reps on this call, I hope you're happy to have me say this, is that most businesses underspend on advertising. Radio, for example, if you spend $2,000 on a big monthly campaign, that's nothing. You're not going to get the amount of repetition you need. You think about Kessler's Diamonds, Wanakee Remodeling, those crazy car sales guys, right? They're getting a huge return on investment because everyone remembers them all the time. So similarly with social media like Twitter, YouTube, et cetera, you got to make sure you're spending enough. So one of the things you want to take a look at is how much repetition you're getting, the frequency. Again, there's different rules of thumb and it depends, but at the minimum, you should make sure that each target audience, that person sees your ad minimum 3 times. You've also might have heard the rules of 7. So sometimes people go for 7. You want to make sure you get a high frequency, right? Because it takes so long for people to have something resonate with them. So that's how we typically determine budget, is looking at those numbers. Like, what will it take to get there? And if you don't take a look at to get there, you just say, I'm going to arbitrarily spend $5 a day for 5 days. Well, you might not get the results you're looking for because you just didn't get that frequency. So that's one way we take a look at the budget. So we want to make sure that we hit those numbers. Does that make sense, Tara?
Brian, can you go back to the other screen?
Here too.
Sorry.
I will try to I'll stay on the chat for a little bit. And I'll try to address everything as I can too.
Can you go back to the other screen that had your email address on it?
Oh yeah.
Please. Thank you. I think there was at least one other question I saw in chat from Ken. Did you see that one at 12:49?
Oh, Ken, great question. Ken's question was about Facebook ads for B2B. So we prefer using Facebook advertising for B2C, business to consumer, and we love LinkedIn ads for B2B, business to business. In fact, I think almost all of our B2B clients, we are running some sort of LinkedIn sponsored campaign. So let me just briefly tell you about that. What we'd like to do is, instead of running those typical ads on LinkedIn, we'd like to sponsor posts. So we take our blog content, for example, an article on, let's say, how to do something. We post it on our LinkedIn company page or our client's LinkedIn company page. Then we sponsor that post into the news feeds of other people on LinkedIn. And the beauty of LinkedIn that you don't get elsewhere is that you can target people based on not only geography and industry and company size, but also job title. So think about your decision makers out there. What is the job title of the person who typically buys from you, right? In one particular case with a client, their decision maker was a hospital CIO, Chief Information Officer. How would you target a CIO? Right? It's that easy. So in this case, we're using LinkedIn ads to push our content in front of these hospital CIOs. So hope, Ken, that answers your question there.
Like you got another one way down at the last question that was just asked, way down at the bottom.
Oh, I was wondering when I'd get these types of questions. So just to let you know is that we have been changing our message and how we're advertising for our clients. Now, it's important to stay out there. There is some study from the 2008 recession that showed that the businesses out there that kept marketing when their competitors pulled back, it showed that their revenue was way higher. If I can find that, I'll send that link to everyone. So that's what we're saying now is that, yes, we have to be sensitive. We just, my company, we just wrote a blog post on this, is that you can see everyone's changing their message from, hey, we have the most awesomest product in the world, to we're here for you. We care about your health and safety, right? those types of messages, but it keeps their brand out there. So I would say the same thing is that stay out there with people. And if you can, offer them resources. So instead of saying, hey, hire us for a wedding in October that might not happen, we'll cross fingers, right? Now might be a time to offer different resources. Like, here's some things that can help you with planning, financing, or whatever, right? Those types of things. That's the typical approach. All of you guys in this room probably have now received 1 million emails from your accounting firm or firms, law firm or firms, right? I didn't realize I was on so many lists. And what are they doing? They're offering you free advice. Here's what you should do about PPP, payroll protection program, all that kind of stuff, right? And they're doing it for free to keep their brand out there, right? So that's what I would recommend, that you just slightly alter your message in terms of how you're marketing now.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys all for being here. We can hang out for probably just 3 more minutes here, and then we'll let Brian on his way. Brian does rock. I've known him for a long time. He's a awesome guy. So the survey link I did put in the chat, it might have gotten lost. I will email you guys after today with the link to the survey, as well as the link to this presentation on our YouTube channel. And in that survey, you will have the option to put in your information if you'd like Brian to reach out to you. Otherwise, again, his email is right here on the screen for you guys to reach out to him. So, all right, I think you nailed it. You've been watching that baking show on Netflix. Nailed it.
Thanks, everyone. It was nice to see a lot of familiar faces on this call here too.
Perfect. Thanks, Brian. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in, and we'll see you soon, hopefully.